Good evening and welcome to NBC Journal. I am Basil Al-Qasim and these are the headlines. President Abbas says two-state solution is in real danger. Palestinian factions invited to attend Cairo meeting on reconciliation. And hundreds of thousands in Gaza commemorate Arafat's death anniversary. Israeli occupation forces on Thursday morning blew up the family home of Nimr al-Jamal, who was killed by Israeli occupation forces in September after he carried out a deadly shooting attack near the village that left 3 Israeli border guard police officers dead. Locals said that Israeli army raided al-Jamal's hometown village of Bet Surik to the northwest of Jerusalem and blew his family's home up after asking them and their neighbors to leave their homes during the blow-up process. Politically, President Mahmoud Abbas said on Saturday last week that the two-state solution is in real danger. In a recorded speech addressing an estimated 1 million people gathering at the Saraya grounds in Gaza City commemorating 13 years for the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, Mr. Abbas said that efforts are continuing to reach Palestinian reconciliation and reunite the West Bank and Gaza Strip. President Mahmoud Abbas met on Sunday with Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Ahmed al-Sabah, at the Bayan Palace in Kuwait, where they discussed the latest political developments in Palestine and the Middle East region. The meeting was attended by senior Kuwaiti and Palestinian officials, including the Prime Minister of Kuwait, Jabir al-Mubarak al-Sabah, Palestinian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Riyad al-Malki, and Palestinian presidential spokesman, Nabil Abu Rudaina. Hundreds of thousands of people waving the yellow flag, the Fatah flag, gathered on Saturday at the Saraya grounds in Gaza City to commemorate 13 years for the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. The Fatah-Hamas reconciliation last month paved the way for allowing this event to take place in Gaza, which has been under Hamas rule since July 2007 until it agreed in October to turn over control in Gaza to the Palestinian Authority's government. Thousands of Gazans began since late Friday night to take up places at the Saraya, awaiting the central event planned for midday Saturday with the participation of representatives of all the Palestinian factions. Foreign Minister Riyad al-Malki said on Tuesday Saudi Arabia told President Mahmoud Abbas that it will not normalize relations with Israel before a peace solution is reached for the Palestinian conflict. Maliki told the president of the Swedish parliament and his delegation, who he met at his office in Ramallah, that Saudi Arabia fully supports Palestinian efforts to reach a settlement based on the international resolutions. The foreign minister expressed dismay at what he described as the shy European presence at a conference held in Kuwait on Monday that dealt with the impact of the Israeli occupation on Palestinian children. Representatives from 24 European countries, including parliamentarians, legal experts, journalists and activists, met in Brussels earlier this week in the first European Conference on Israeli settlement activity, agreeing on a declaration that accuses Israel of establishing an apartheid regime in the West Bank.
According to a press release, the agreement was named the Brussels Declaration and agreed on the following stipulations. First, Israel continues its policy of confiscating Palestinian land and building settlements over it, which turned into terrorist organization. Second, settlement expansions is a serious violation of international law and UN resolutions. Third, the conference calls for the immediate termination of all settlement activities pursued by the occupying state in the occupied Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem. Fourth, the Brussels conference called on the international community to assume its legal responsibilities by adding these racist policies of the occupying power and put serious pressure on it to respect the relevant international law. Fifth, it calls on the European countries to match their words with deeds, not just by issuing statements. Sixth, the participants in this conference emphasize the important role that can be played by political forces, parliaments, human rights organizations and civil society organizations in the European countries to confront Israeli expansion plans and settlement construction. Seventh, the participants in this conference call on the people of the world and their peace-loving democratic forces to actively participate in the international boycott. 8. The conference also affirms its full support for the Palestinian initiative to refer constructing new settlements. And 9th, the participants in the conference salute the growing state of solidarity with the Palestinian people and their just cause. Balqis Siddiq, NBC Journal.
Qais Abdel Karim, Deputy Secretary General of the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, said on Monday that all the Palestinian factions that have signed the 2011 Cairo Agreement to reconcile Fatah and Hamas and reunite the West Bank and Gaza Strip have received an invitation to attend the two-day meeting scheduled for November 21st in Cairo. He told Voice of Palestine Radio that the meeting will discuss issues such as the structure of the National Unity Government, the countdown to holding elections, the issue of the Palestine Liberation Organization, and convening a session for the Palestinian National Council. He said that with the exception of the government, all other issues have been agreed on, and all that is left is a timeline for implementation. Now we move to Amjad and his news from An-Najah National University.
Thank you, Basil. On Monday, November the 13th, under the patronage of His Excellency, the Prime Minister, Professor Rami Al-Hamdallah, the Faculty of Law at An-Najah National University, in cooperation with the Independent Commission for Human Rights, organized the Reconciliation and Transitional Justice in Palestine Conference at Prince Turki bin Abdul Aziz Theatre in the new campus. In his speech, Prime Minister Professor Al-Hamdallah transfers President Abbas greetings and said that the Palestinian government set plans to reconstruct the land in Gaza and stressed the importance of citizens' safety and security in all parts of the West Bank. In the opening speech, Dr. Muayyad Al-Hattab, Dean of the Faculty of Law, mentioned that the conference coincides with the Declaration of Independence, the International Day for Tolerance, and the completion of the Palestinian Reconciliation Agreement. He added that the conference discusses the role of the civil society and academic community in supporting the Palestinian reconciliation and reinforcing transitional justice in Palestine. Professor Najah commended the President Mahmoud Abbas, Prime Minister, and the Egyptian government for their endeavors to unite the Palestinian people. He called for establishing partnership based on justice and equality and working hard to implement political, economic, and social justice. On Sunday, November the 12th, and under the patronage of Professor Maher Nachi, the acting president of An-Najah, An-Najah University launched the activities of the second winter school for higher energy physics in Palestine, WISP 2, at Prince Turki bin Abdul Aziz Theatre in the new campus. The event was attended by Dr. Khairi Rassas, advisor to Prime Minister Professor Al-Hamdallah and member of the International Advisory Committee of the Winter School, Professor Allam Musa, Minister of Telecommunication and Information Technology, Professor Maher Nachi, acting president, and Najah vice presidents and assistants. In the opening speech, Professor Jabir talked in details about the importance of the winter school as high-energy physics intervene in the different aspects of life. He also talked about the recent discoveries in high energy and problems that encounter conducting research in this field. Professor Nachi welcomed the guests and commended the Faculty of Science staff and students for their devotion to build such a good reputation for their faculty regarding academia and scientific research. In her speech, Dr. Rassas transferred Professor Al-Hamdallah's greetings and said that the winter school has a rich agenda full of discussions and scientific lectures and provides tools that expand students' knowledge. In turn, Professor Musa talked about the importance of physics as it connected the disciplines including medicine, engineering, and technology development. An-Najah National University received a delegation from Open Society Foundation. The delegation was received by Dr. Mohammed Al-Amle, Vice President for Academic Affairs and International Relations Office of An-Najah. The aim of the visit was to provide an informational session regarding the Opening Society internships for rights and governance and to explore options for involving the university in other aspects of the program. Dr. Al-Amle welcomed the delegation and briefed them on the history of the university, its academic programs, its students, and its academic and research achievements, and the political and economic obstacles facing higher education in Palestine regarding to the difficulty of attracting foreigner expertise to the university. The participants talked about the program and its current initiatives to build a global network of internship alumni to continue to support the development to participants and their projects. The importance of joint cooperation between the parties was stressed, putting forward the idea of expanding An-Najah's participation to include in university academics. And back to you, Basil.
And now we move to Lena and her corner, the news from around the world.
Thank you, Basil. At just 11 light years from our solar system, a newly discovered exoplanet is the second closest we've ever found that's temperate enough to potentially host a sustained life. Earth-sized planet Ross 128b orbits inactive red Ross 128 in the system's Goldilocks zone. This means it ticks all the initial habitability boxes. It's probably rocky, not gaseous, and it's at a distance from its star that means the temperature could be hospitable to life as we know it. We started to observe the star in July 2005, astronomer Nicola Astudillo of Geneva Observatory said. 2013, our monitoring started to be more intense, and only after acquiring 157 observations was the signal of the planet strong enough to be detected. With everyone from Elon Musk to MIT to the US Department of Defense researching brain implants, it seems only a matter of time before such devices are ready to help humans extend their natural capabilities. Now, a professor from the University of Southern California has demonstrated the use of a brain implant to improve the human memory, and the device could have major implications for the treatment of one of the US's deadliest diseases. Dong Song is a research associate professor of biomedical engineering at USC, and he recently presented his findings on a memory prosthesis during a meeting of the Society for Neuroscience in Washington, D.C. According to a New Scientist report, the device is the first to effectively improve the human memory. More than a decade in the making, the Louvre Abu Dhabi opens its doors this week, bringing the famed name to the Arab world for the first time. French President Emmanuel Macron is set to attend the Wednesday inauguration on his first visit to the United Arab Emirates since taking office in May. For the next 10 years, 13 of France's top museums will lend works to the UAE at their discretion and for a maximum of 2 years each. The museum currently has some 300 pieces on loan. The Louvre Abu Dhabi is displaying more than 250 works of art from the Emirati collection, including Edward Manet's The Gypsy, and works by Dutch abstract artist Piet Mondrian and Turkey's Osman Hamdi Bey. Uber is taking part in a joint industry and government push with NASA to develop software which the company aims to use to manage flying taxi routes that could work like ride-hailing services it has popularized on the ground. Uber said on Wednesday it was the first formal service contract by the U.S. National Aeronautical and Space Administration, NASA, covering low-altitude airspace rather than outer space. NASA has used such contracts to develop rockets since the late 1950s. Chief Product Officer Jeff Holden also said Uber would begin testing proposed for-passenger 322 kilometers per hour flying taxi services across Los Angeles in 2020. Its second planned test market after Dallas-Fort Worth. Apple shares hit a record high on Friday after the tech giant reported a blowout fourth quarter and shrugged off concerns related to the iPhone X, prompting more analysts to put a $1 trillion valuation on the company. The stock rose as much as 3.7% to $174.26, briefly breaching $900 billion in market value amid declines in the broader market. The gains added nearly $32 billion to the company's market capitalization. The Cupertino, California-based company also forecast a strong holiday quarter ahead, which will include the iPhone X that started selling on November 3rd. We see iPhone X unlocking pent-up iPhone upgrades, especially in China, driving more than 20% iPhone unit growth and a revenue and earnings beat in 2018, analyst Katie Huberty on Morgan Stanley said. The glass and steel $999 phone appeared to have brought back the frenzy associated with iPhone launches. Long lines formed outside Apple stores in Asia as fans flocked to buy the new phone. Disney on Thursday announced plans for a new Star Wars film trilogy and a live-action TV series as it builds on the beloved and profitable science fiction franchise. We have big ambitions for the Star Wars franchise, Disney chief executive Robert Iger said during a quarterly earnings call. Disney just closed a deal with Rian Johnson, director of upcoming film The Last Jedi, to develop a brand new trilogy, according to Iger. We are also planning to produce a number of original series for the new service and are already developing a Star Wars live-action series, Iger said of a planned direct-to-consumer pay service offering television and film content. And back to you, Bassel.
Thank you for watching, dear viewers, and goodbye.